Greetings, flesh creatures. It is I, Megatron. On behalf of TFYLP, I want to congratulate you for listening to the most refined collective podcast on this miserable little planet Earth. Yes. Here you'll find knowledgeable fans discussing every aspect of Transformers and beyond. Now, enjoy the show while I continue my path to complete conquest of all of you miserable biological entities. Predacons, terrorize!
Hi, and welcome to TFYLP, episode 379 for Monday, May 4th. Tonight with me, I have Anna.
Hello.
And Jack.
Hola. I was going to say something else smart-assy in Spanish, but I didn't really feel like it, so. Hola.
And Christian.
What's up?
Hey, so welcome everyone. So, tonight's... Can you guys hear me? They're asking if I'm muted.
We can hear you.
Oh, crap.
Is Anna muted? I'll just host. We don't need Lucas.
Well, on this, I got a microphone. I guess I should have tested it out first.
Plot twist, it's not plugged in. Rodimus said his volume is very low.
Okay. Hold on. Test.
Please stand by as we're experiencing technical difficulties.
I can talk about random things. I put Lake from Megatron. See? Lakes. Wiggle.
Test. Does this sound better? Can you hear me now?
Sounds louder for us, but
I'll let you know what people say in the
Well, like on the whatchamacallit, like on my volume on the recording, it shows like it's up. So
Zaldrin said I think I got it.
okay. All right.
There
So
we go. Good now.
Sorry about that. I apologize. So, So anyway, I ended up getting an actual microphone for the show because I figured that
Big shot.
it was time to
real professional.
to actually like invest in an actual microphone after a year of like having crappy audio and whatnot. So because my other headphones broke and whatever. So anyway,
I just want you guys to know that you almost had a whole show where you didn't have to listen to Lucas, and you gave it up because of your honesty. Just think about that.
What an opportunity.
Just think about that, guys.
Squandered.
You jerk.
That is true. So, yeah. So way to go, everyone. So, but thank you for letting me know in the chat that my audio is messed up. So anyway, so welcome to TFYLP, episode 379 for Monday, May 4th. So, So anyway, so tonight we're going to be talking about the Transformers video games, and also about we'll cover mobile games later on as well. But yeah, Jack wanted to talk. So I guess with everyone staying at home recently, a few of us have been pulling out the Transformers video games, especially Jack, and so he decided he wanted to go ahead and talk about it since it's fresh on his mind.
Yeah, I figured after the show got done last week, I kind of got to thinking, it's like, because last week's topic is, it's like, what repaints did we want to see, or do we want to see in the future? And it's like, why not give them about video games? Seeing how we have no idea what's going to be the future, seeing how Activision and Hasbro are splits. So,
are they officially split now?
I believe so. I think it's been year and a half, I think. 2 years, yeah.
Almost.
Year and a half.
I mean, I know that the license is up for the game, so they finally, I think, like, what was it? Was it War for Cybertron where they finally took the servers down for online?
War for Cybertron. Actually, every Activision Transformers game, they shut the servers down. So
I think it was last year where like they stopped selling the games in the store, like in the online
yes.
digital.
Yeah, obviously physical you can still find because I know a few of them are still dirt cheap for like less than $5. So you can still play the single player all you want. You just can't do any online, which
Right.
I hated because I absolutely love the Fall of Cybertron online multiplayer. So
Yeah,
Does
I
that
mean,
we're
at
going to
the
spend
same
tonight talking about a lot of games that are really hard to play.
at the same time though, like okay, so the I guess War for Cybertron technically came out for PlayStation. Wait, which one's the second one? Is it Fall of Cybertron? I always get them confused.
Wars first, Fall is second.
Okay, so the Fall of Cybertron, like War for Cybertron, was only on PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. Was not on the
Yes.
older consoles. The later ones ended up coming out like years later or whatever, where you could rebuy it. They weren't on their, So I would assume the amount of people that are still actively playing online games through the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 is not what it once was. I'm just
Pretty
guessing.
much.
So
Yeah,
now that we're getting to
it's gone way down.
PlayStation 5 and Xbox, whatever the new Xbox thing is called. So
Series X, I think. There's too many X's now.
no, Series X
pretty
I
much.
thought came out. I thought.
No, that's the
I don't
Xbox One X.
Oh,
So this one's like,
of course.
Xbox Triple X State of the X. That's what this one's called.
So there
That
you
sounds
go.
about right.
Yeah.
pretty much.
So I guess what's the first game? I think we're thinking about going chronologically. So I'm gonna have
We
to bow to
talked
this
about going
topic.
chronologically. Is that a good idea, though? This was like your idea, Jack. Are you gonna? Do you know a lot of the really old games?
The oldest one I have is actually two of the oldest ones I have. Funny how I actually have not played these because I wanted to just get them, and I was like, if I play them later. Sure enough, I played one of them for like 20 minutes. I got so pissed off, I said, screw it, went back on the shelf. But the old Beast Wars game,
Nice.
Okay, those
on
are
these,
both
I think they were like $10 each at one of my local game shops. I'm like, yeah, you could bet I'm going to get those, without a doubt. So yeah, I played the first Beast Wars game. Like I said, for 20 minutes, I was like, see ya. So,
That sounds about right.
but yeah, if you want to go older, go
No,
ahead.
my thought was just we go through things chronologically and we talk about the things that we actually have played out of them. Like, there's going to be a lot that it's going to be like, okay, so none of us have played this, so we really can't say very much.
Yeah.
But I think we can pretty much jump from the Famicom game all the way to Beast Wars. I don't think any of us played anything in the middle there. There isn't a whole lot in the middle, though. Don't worry. There's like only actually one game in the middle. I'm using a list because I have this not memorized. I'm using a list on TFYLP. So if anybody wants to comment on the games we're skipping, feel free to say so in the comments and tell me that we've missed the best games ever. But there's just this little like tradition where Transformers games typically haven't been very good. So we're not going to stop to talk for very long about most of these. A few of them we'll actually talk about, like the three good ones. But yeah. Yes, and it is time destruction phase. Look at this.
Well, it's really after the last couple of shows with Rick on the show, it's probably jarring for people to watch the show and like try to actually have a
Actual structure rather than
structure to the show
I took a
rather
break,
than just
and now I'm back trying to put structure on the chaos of the show.
yeah.
So, honestly, like, I literally did not know there were two Commodore 64 games for Transformers until today. Like, that is literally when I found out that those were things. I always thought that Mystery of Convoy on the Famicom was the first Transformers game. It wasn't. It was like the third.
in the Transfer Revolt, the blue book, they do, I think, mention Mystery Convoy in this. So that's like the first time I've actually heard of that. And I've not heard anything about any like Commodore until I just looked at the wiki, and sure enough, here it comes. And I was like,
there they are.
Okay.
Yeah, they are. And they look like they might actually be probably from the tiny bit I read about them. So Mystery of Convoy was like one of those things that in high school I found out existed because that was when emulation was kind of a thing that really nerdy people did. So I actually got a ROM of it, emulated it, and forced myself to play it. And it's an NES game. How many of you have actually played it? Have you played it, Christian? You're making faces.
That you played it while you were in high school.
Oh yeah. It was released in like '86, so I was in high school after '86.
Cool.
Way after '86. It was many, many years later. And it is an NES game. It is a side-scrolling NES game that you play as Ultra Magnus. It's kind of, sort of based on the movie a little bit, in that Ultra Magnus is there and Optimus Prime isn't. It's incredibly difficult and very frustrating, and actually not a very fun game. That might be a controversial opinion. Somebody might be game is my life.
I mean, I'm shocked because I feel like just on the face of it, Anna, if you said that there was a side-scrolling game that with Ultra Magnus, that like you would be like, sign me up, like this is amazing.
But see, okay, the game is so vague and kind of crappy that I wasn't even actually sure it was Ultra Magnus when I played it. I was like, it's kind of a rectangle blob that's got some whites and blues in it. I guess that's somebody. Maybe Ultra Magnus. Maybe it's just a blob. I really don't know. It isn't wonderful. It's like, it was cool at the time because it was literally a game where you could transform, and there weren't many of those back then. But it was a very difficult, very frustrating, punishing game that if you beat it in a special way, actually played through the game a second time, it was exactly the same.
Discuss some of the games that we played then, or
yes, we're going forward.
This pretty much be like our favorites.
Convoy?
I think we're skipping straight to the Beast Wars games because Jack said he's played them.
Yeah, for like 20 minutes, and I'm like, yeah, no, see ya. Yeah.
The first one was it was a third-person shooter, right?
Yes. First one was the level design was not that good because obviously it's like 5 feet in front of you. There's like this thick black fog, and obviously seeing how it's limited by games. But I remember, I think when I played this, I was dying at least every 2 minutes. I'm like, yeah, not for me. So I mean, it's kind of cool for what it is, but yeah, that's not going to be played anytime soon again. And sure enough, that was like 2 years ago.
I've also turned the game on once. I owned a copy on PC forever, and I managed to put it in one time. And that was it. And I didn't want to play it anymore.
One of those two has, I think, the only appearance of a BotCon character outside of BotCon fiction. Someone in the chat, tell me if I'm wrong about that, but Windrazer's in one of those games.
I believe is in Transmetals.
The fighter?
Could be wrong. Yep. Windrazer's in too. He's in Beast Wars Metals, Transmetals. Let's see. It doesn't really say much else, but yeah, he's in there. So
BotCon characters don't often get to branch out, so cool to see someone else there.
Pretty much.
So, the Transmetals game was a fighter. It was something. It was one of those mini 3D fighters that wasn't super good. I think it's much more playable than the first Beast Wars game, if that's anything.
Yeah, pretty much.
I went through the roster once with a friend, and we never played it again.
I believe I played this for I think an hour when I was younger, and sure enough, it was for what it was decent, but it was not, the most polished thing. Obviously, it's not Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, but for what it was with the content, it was going off of, it was not too shabby.
That's the thing too. Back then, like we just didn't. U.S. releases of Transformers games hadn't really happened until we got to those two Beast Wars games. So if you were desperate for some Transformers game content, that was what you got. And you dealt with it. You know what? It's better than Mystery of Convoy, so whatever.
I think historically, if you look, most of the licensed games like were pretty much hot garbage. Like in general, like this isn't just Transformers. Pretty much everything. So.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to think. Like Superman. I mean, now it's all we have games like Spider-Man or whatever on the PlayStation 4 that's like an amazing game and whatnot. But like back in the day, like in the Nintendo days and Super Nintendo and whatever, it was just usually a licensed game was hot garbage.
So the Rodimus asked, and I thought maybe we could intersperse this in as we talked. The idea of like what we want to see in a Transformers game. What do you guys think of Transformers games as fighting games? Because that Forged to Fight game, that phone game, is kind of like it's sort of a fighting game. Like it's very simplistic, but it's kind of a fighting game. So what do you think of the idea of fighting games starring the Transformers? Is that a good idea, bad idea, medium idea?
If it gets in like into a future game, maybe as like a mini game, like just if you just want a brawler between two specific robots, it's like go for it. But if it's just one, if that's the main gameplay of a specific game, no, I don't think it's going to sell well.
Probably not the right genre.
I mean,
I think more people would want.
I don't think in general that you're going to want to make that they're going to make a AAA fighting game. Like you said, like I could see another upgraded fighter like on mobile platforms, like on the phone and whatnot. But I don't know. I'm not sure that there's anything compelling about the Transformers that would translate to that game necessarily. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think the problem for me is the Transformers is all about mobility, right? Like most of the time alt modes are about increasing mobility in some way, and fighting games just aren't about that. Fighting games are about staring at each other. I like fighting games. Like that's like probably my favorite genre, but I don't think Transformers is the best fit for fighting games, and nor does it need to be. So, okay, that was my aside. I thought it was fun. I'm glad everyone else thought it was a super exciting question.
I mean, I think it could work, but it's just I don't necessarily know that that's the genre that would be,
heavily desired.
Yeah.
So, did anybody else actually know about the PS2 G1 game they made?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a game I always wanted, but turns out I never knew what it was like at all.
I heard it's bad.
Yeah.
So Raiden's in it.
Really is bad.
Yay.
It was funny because a lot of people heard when it was first announced that it was going to be a G1 game. Everybody was excited. Then all of a sudden the reviews came out and it was crappy. And people were thinking, oh, we're still going to get it over in the States. And sure enough, they didn't. And it was a completely different game because at that time, Armada was out. So we got the GOAT, in my opinion, the greatest Transformers game so far. And we got this, and this completely blew that G1 game out of the water when it came to gameplay, graphics, voice acting, everything pretty much. And the amount of extras you get in this makes it even more worth it because I know you get some unseen G1 like public service announcements, which is kind of funny to watch, to be honest. You get like all kinds of catalogs, you get some instructions, prototypes of like toys that were out, and
hey cutie.
I spent like 10 minutes doing a ghost voice trying to taunt you, but you couldn't hear me.
It was a lot of ghost voice.
There you go. All right, so we may have no viewers now because it's I apologize to everyone for the internet. So my internet's been pretty good for a while, but apparently now it's not. So it dropped the stream, and then I went and
Dun, dun.
reset my router and all that type of thing. So hopefully we will not have any more internet issues. So I blame Anna personally because I know she always robots. So somehow it's.
Was this actually an evil plan by you to be like, oh, well, now we don't have as much time, so we have to skip to War for Cybertron and Fall for Cybertron? Ha
I think we're
ha!
almost there anyway, right?
What you were doing?
Pretty much. Say, well, I think it would be funny
two-
if like
two more games
we
to
ended,
get through?
we somehow ended the show before before we actually talked about the like best games. And like the meat and potatoes, it's like we're talking. It's like, all right, the Commodore 64 game, and these like whatever, and then somehow
I called this the best game, Transformers game so far, and Lucas's internet was like, "Ha, no, I'm gonna end this show now. See ya."
it's like I'm done.
Pretty
I'm out.
much.
I didn't know that was the origin of the PSAs, though. That's cool. I mean, I knew they came out around that time, but I didn't know that's how it came out.
Yeah, they were
should've
pretty
done
much.
that.
I think they were made up. They were unseen, and they were like, "Oh, let's just do this as unlockable in a video
I
game."
think it's great. That's
And to be
absolutely
like I
wonderful.
said, I've watched all of them as I unlocked them, and they are hilarious.
They're
They're hilarious.
great.
So,
I think I eventually saw them on the. Did they come out on the Rhino set, or did they come out on the Shout Factory set, or?
I believe it was Rhino. I think. I could be
That's
wrong.
probably why they existed anyway. That they brought them back for that.
So yeah, that Armada game, I think like it proved that there could be a good Transformers game.
I think I
Really
played
do.
a demo of it in a Target once.
So
Nothing was good before it.
that Armada game, is it available like on the PlayStation Store? I'm assuming probably not. Like I'm sure they lost
Not on the
rights.
store. It's not on the store because obviously it was only PS2, and for whatever PS2 games they really did, they didn't really go back to this. But
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure these are selling for about, I think, $10 or less on eBay. Could check.
Don't expect it to be like a clutch PS2 game. Like it's not the best thing, but it's still fun.
So I shouldn't buy a PS2 just for that game.
No.
Jack?
I mean,
Watch
if
a
you
Let's
want
Play
to.
on YouTube.
Yeah, the only Armada game I found on eBay was just a demo disc that was sealed. So I'm not sure how much you're going to get out of that, but
Well, Christian can
Serge
replay his
also
childhood
swears
and play a demo.
Serge also swears by the Armada game. He's been playing through it recently.
I'm
It was good.
tempted to go through it again. Don't tell me somebody's taking a leak on show.
No, I'm grabbing a bottle of water.
I was going to say, I'm like,
I was gonna say, Christian, you're gonna have like.
Next,
Oh my god.
next we enter into the period where there are lots of games based on the movies. Moving forward.
Lucas is dead. From last.
Yeah, because he thinks Christian's drinking his pee.
Actually, I didn't even know we were back, so that would be why I did that.
We are actually like back. We've been
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, I was
Cool.
gonna say we're
Sorry,
live,
Bruce.
Christian. We're like on the air, and you like
Everybody-
walk off
Back.
screen. And you
Everybody
start-
watching this is just like,
Oh my god.
You did not
Well,
give
this
us
is
a
a live
countdown or anything to say
stream.
we were back.
Get
Whatever.
it?
I'm sorry.
Christian,
Yeah,
it's
we've
live
been
streaming.
we've been live
for
like
about solid 5 minutes.
God.
Cool. Well, whatever.
Oh, okay. Anyway, all right. So go on with whatever you're.
So
talking
we've got
about.
into the mass of movie games. the multi-console games based on the movie, where they started doing releases on PS2, PS3,
PS3.
360, Wii, PC. They started getting it on everything.
PSP, that's the one I played.
I think there is, yeah. There's some PSP ones. Yeah, I'm only looking at console. I'm not looking at handheld. I'm being a trader.
Yeah.
Well, the Shockwave model from PSP Movie 1 game is the best. Like, I know Shockwave eventually appeared in the games. It doesn't hold a candle to the PSP model. It's amazing.
PS2 I thought was kind of cool. Or PS2, PS3, the console games. Yeah, the way he turned into a gun platform, into a chopper, into, big burly robot. My ideal version.
Really similar.
That's cool.
So
I
is it
played-
worth
similar
it
than
for
I
me
thought
to
they
go
were.
back and play the PlayStation 3 movie games then? Is I never
yeah.
played.
Well, which one?
Well, you tell me which ones are good. Which ones are worth my time?
This one is actually not too bad. Actually, in this one, what I
Transformers
like
the
about
game.
it, yes,
So that's the original one.
This is
The
the
movie
first,
one, yeah.
07 movie games, obviously
Okay.
PS3. It's actually open world, which I like. This is pretty much my favorite genre of games are open world games, and you get to obviously be both Autobots and Decepticons from obviously the first movie.
Mhm.
You can destroy stuff. It will kind of penalize you, not really, but obviously you could go around Sam's neighborhood. You can go around the Hoover Dam, Mission City. I feel like there was another. Oh yeah, the desert, like in the military scenes. But one of my favorite things about this is the extras that you unlock. You actually unlock all kinds of comic covers from like G1, G2. I think a few Beast Wars might be in here, but yeah, it's, to be honest, I feel this is an okay game. Obviously not the greatest. I do feel it kind of gets not a lot of love that it should have, because I feel it's underrated. So, but yeah.
So
I thought it was
then
long and repetitive.
yeah.
So that's the only one you'd recommend out of the movie games?
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I never played any of
Wow.
them, so you got to tell me.
Okay, so Revenge of the Fallen and Dark of the Moon are both better.
Yeah, Dark
I
Moon,
lo-
yeah.
I bought Revenge of the Fallen recently, and I tried to play a little bit of it today before my Xbox blew up. I'll fix it; it'll be fine. But Revenge of the Fallen is fun because the single player campaign is fun. The models look really good, and in the Autobot campaign, you get to play as Breakaway. And he is super exciting to play.
Don't get me wrong. For what this was, I like this. But for some reason, this was, I feel, equally as good. I mean, yes, the graphics were crappy. The way the story played out felt more like the movie, because it felt like this was just like, oh, you go into an area, you beat somebody
When you
up.
say this, what? Sorry, I'm
Are you holding
having
the
trouble
two
with
versions
what you're
of
holding
Revenge of
up.
the Fallen?
PS2 version.
Revenge of the Fallen. Okay, so the PlayStation
Yeah.
2 version of Revenge of the Fallen and the PlayStation 3, you actually liked PlayStation 2 a little bit better?
For some reason, yes, because it felt like the story in this was a little more in line with the movie, while this one didn't, I guess. And yeah, and another bonus in this, in the extras, is actually you get a few G1 episodes in the PS2 version.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's one way to watch, G1 is play a movie game and, beat the snot out of the Decepticon chops and get some G1.
That's kind of an interesting thing that they put G1 episodes on there. Like, you would think they would put movie cutscenes.
Yeah, it was.
That's the
It
only
was
G1 thing they put in there, though. I remember there was a big push for multiplayer with Revenge of the Fallen, and they were releasing G1 skins for characters like Sideswipe and Jazz, and like that was a huge deal then.
Yeah. Let me see.
I think they just shut those servers down in the past month or so.
It was pretty much when they shut Fall of Cybertron and War for Cybertron down is they pretty much did everything all at one time and just said, no games for you.
But that Revenge
See
of
ya.
the Fallen still had a population after 11 years. It's pretty
It
incredible.
did. For some reason, it
That's
did.
nuts. Like, what is this
Can I tell-
population? Like, was it?
I don't know.
Is
I
it
wanna find
like 30 people or something?
Who is paying an Xbox Live subscription to play Revenge of the Fallen online? I want to know. Can I tell a quick story about me and Revenge of the Fallen?
Sure.
Okay, so this game is very special to me. I finally have my own copy after I bought it at, there was a GameStop sale earlier this month or last month, whenever I bought that. It was like $10. I bought it. It's great. But when I first played it back in 2009, I was 17 years old. It was my freshman year of college. And I had to go to the Blockbuster around the corner from my school. And I wanted to rent it, but you had to be 18 to rent something. And I just mentioned I was 17 years old. So I just lied about my age to the cashier lady. I slid her my ID that had my birthday on it and said under 18 on my picture. And I guess I was just so charismatic that she let me get a card and rent that game anyway. It was awesome.
Nice.
Well, that's
That tells
nice.
you how old I am. Because I rented it at a Blockbuster.
I remember when before some people in Colombia were 18, like some of the clubs, like you couldn't get in unless you're 18, and so people would lie about their age and do fake IDs to that. Christian is lying about his age in order to play a Transformers or to rent a Transformers video game.
And I used my real ID that said I was underage. That's the good part. That's the tricky part. Be so
that's
charming.
just dedication. Good job. We're proud of you.
It's awesome. Great weekend with that game. I was so proud.
So, are we ready to get on to the
Good
War for
games?
Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron games?
It depends on
And
where
Rise
you
of the
wanna put
Dark
Dark of
Oh
the Moon. We're
God.
not getting on there yet. Okay, so let's talk Dark of the Moon first.
Did we skip
Actually,
the movie
yeah,
game?
no,
Okay.
because
It's kind of sideways.
Yeah, I want to do all the movie games at once just to get them away.
Okay, but Dark of the Moon is different because Dark of the Moon was released after War for Cybertron and also developed by High Moon, like War for Cybertron was. So that game is therefore incredible. It integrated the Stealth Force mode, which was kind of similar to what the War for Cybertron's vehicle modes were. The story was great. It introduced us to an awesome Warpath model, a really cool Soundwave model that you got to play as.
he was an SUV, not the
SUV.
Mercedes.
You got to play as Mirage. He was actually called Mirage in the game instead of Dino like he was in the movie. And it was super fun. It had a cool, Nest theme thing. You got to fight against Stratosphere for a little bit. That was awesome. A lot of really good cinematic boss fights in that game.
To be honest, I think that was another underrated game, obviously, because, the fact that it was High Moon, I think they pretty much took the War for Cybertron gameplay, added the feel of the movies, and I feel with the same engine as, War for Cybertron and pretty much a final engine, sort of Fall of Cybertron, I thought it really worked. And that's why I really love the Dark of the Moon game. And plus, it's it's a prequel to the movie. So
It's really quite good. Don't sleep on it. I mean, you may be like, oh, I don't like movie stuff. This game transcends being a movie game. It's just really fun to play.
It sounds like I'm gonna have to go pick it up for, whatever, $10 at GameStop or something, right?
Sounds like you should, yeah.
pretty much.
Since you like the High
You
Moon
probably
stuff.
should. And I still hate it, but
No, I'm not interested.
all right, now we can do War for Cybertron.
So we made it to the High Moon era, right? And
Yes.
it's interesting because, like, before this, I feel like the genre of Transformers games was just all over the place. Like, there had been fighters, there had been side-scrolling action games, there had been more action games. I think there had been some attempts at shooters, but this was very much like, we're going to make a competent third-person shooter and have it be Transformers. And that really just it set the bar for quite some time on what a Transformers game should be like. Because they were actually surprised good.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Yes, they were.
Except for the Wii
did
version.
Change everything. Except for the Wii version. Did anyone play the Wii version? Oh,
Yeah,
man.
me.
Someone
Jack
played the
did.
Wii version.
There you go.
Garbage. Hot garbage. And I figured I'd keep it because obviously, it's...
Did they farm that out to because High Moon was not a large studio. I'm surprised that because I think it was a different.
This is Havoc. This is a different studio.
There you go.
Okay.
I think they used a lot of assets, but they didn't really obviously do a great job with it. So you can't even control what, because I think it might depend on the chapter, but it's you can't even move yourself. It just moves you automatically. Pretty much all it is you click and aim and shoot, and that's it.
Oh, it's a rail shooter.
Yeah, it's pretty much like the Universe Ride. That's it.
There were way too many rail shooters on the Wii. That was it. They even made Resident Evil rail shooters, and it's ugh.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah,
this was
very good.
But I think in general, if you want to see the impact that War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron made as games, the fact that we got a pretty large toy line out of the deal from Hasbro, and the fact that we still have a third party that is making good high end versions of those characters 10 years later, I think says, all you need to know about how good that game was. I mean, I think that it was the first probably Transformers game that was actually rated well by, gaming publications, I would guess, right?
I think Armada was.
Oh, Armada was too. Okay, well.
I think that Armada game was well received, if I remember right.
It was, but it pretty much, I think after a year, pretty much a lot of people pretty much forgot about it, because I think they were working on a sequel to the Armada game, but Atari moved the studio onto a different project, so pretty much the whole sequel to that was just gone. And I think as soon as the movie started becoming a thing, because I think when was the movies really announced? 2005, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and so obviously they were like, oh, now we're gonna do movie games. So, yeah, no more Unicron trilogy, so see ya. So it was pretty much well forgotten about until these two came out, and they were the more well received, so.
But I think for, a lot of people that the, when did Transformers Prime, I'm trying to think of, so Animated came out, did those games come out before Animated or after?
After.
Okay. But what I was going to say is just having that, Transformers fiction. I think it's kind of the same thing that we have now where, we really would love to have some non-movie fiction. We have the comics now with IDW. And I guess we did back then as well. But I think a lot of people, even back then and now, both are kind of starved for, wanting to have more good Transformers stories. And so I think that's what really, what they brought is a pretty good story along with the game.
Yeah,
and new designs that they just weren't like anything else we'd ever seen before, and they had so much love put into them, and that's what astounds me about both of those games even now, is that how much care went into them. And you can't really say that about a lot of the previous games. But Matt Teaser, the director over there, and High Moon as a studio, I mean, they put so much love and tenderness and nostalgia into those games. It's remarkable.
They're good games.
And Ron mentioned in the chat that I guess there's a video documentary about the Cybertron games on there. So I'll have to see if I can find that and put a link in the show description. But
that'd be cool.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of similar to the latest Bumblebee movie that came out as well. Like, you can tell that like people that actually enjoy Transformers like worked on the property, you know, like, and not just like, you know, whatever, Michael Bay or whoever, that are just trying to make loud explosions. So yeah.
I did like that the whole transformation mechanic actually felt like part of the game. Like, it didn't really feel tacked on. It felt like it, you know, had to be done, had to be used, and was actually like part of a fluid gameplay. You know, it wasn't like mini games or special levels or anything.
Integration of transformation so far.
Probably, yeah.
Even then, it kind of felt. Okay, so I played through it a couple weeks ago before we knew about this topic, but you play as one of 3 characters in a level typically. And when you're just kind of walking along and the other 2 characters are transforming for no reason, it's like, well, should I be transforming? But there's not a lot of room to maneuver. So a lot of times it doesn't make sense, but they're trying to make it make sense. But another lot of times there's a lot of, you know, racetrack looking things. There's a lot of cool dodges and flight moves you can do. So it's not like transformation is helpful every place of the game, and there's definitely places where you have to do it. But overall, you can do it anywhere.
Pretty much.
Does it make sense?
Well, and the thing that I liked about the game as well, but I mean that like third-person shooters are kind of like my favorite type of game. So I mean, obviously, I'm gonna really enjoy the game, but what I liked about it is the fact that you played so many different characters in the game with the different levels, and so I felt like it really was fresh throughout the game, and it wasn't like something that they had to throw in to be gimmicky, like like a lot of games where it's like halfway through the game you're like, all right, what do we do now? You're like 10 hours in or 20 hours in, and whatever. But this game, like, you'd be playing as Optimus Prime a certain level, and Bumblebee another level, and Jazz another, and Grimlock, and then you play as the Decepticons, depending on the game. And so, I mean, I think that there's just a lot of variety to the game, and to the gameplay, and everything felt different. It didn't just feel like, oh, you're whatever. It's this random character model. Like, there was, I think that they did a good job of varying all the characters out.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, random character models are for multiplayer though. And that's probably the strongest multiplayer we've ever seen in a Transformers game.
Pretty much.
My goodness, it was so customizable. You could use parts from all the various models. You could use all kinds of colors.
You can use Grimlock's Dino Head. You can use Optimus's G1 body. Megatron's arms from the War for Cybertron, Jazz's legs, and you can name them. You can name them whatever you want. And you can color them whatever you want. I think the vehicle mode is more, based off the torso, so it's going to turn into the truck. But it's one of my favorite multiplayers was Fall of Cybertron, and that's why I loved it.
Oh yeah.
So.
But you can't play this multiplayer. Sorry.
Can't play multiplayer
anymore. You can play it locally, probably. No, you probably can't even do that anymore. I think you can do a LAN party, maybe. Time will tell. But I liked, the team deathmatch and the Slayer stuff. That's had typical stuff for that time. But it also was piggybacking on the popularity of Gears of War at the time, and it had a horde mode called Escalation. And Escalation was insane.
Yes, it was.
You could stand there for hours if you had good teammates. Wave after wave after wave after wave of enemies. It was awesome.
Well, that's good.
I loved it.
And it's
like, you can get the games. You can get the games. They do still exist in physical copies only. Yes. If you can find them.
Online.
Oh, you can definitely find the games. Don't you worry. Like I actually went and rebought a PlayStation 3 just to get the games. I mean, you can get a PlayStation 3 for like nothing now. So between that, between that and the 2 games, I think I probably paid $100, so maybe less. But but yeah, no, it's. I mean, I think that it's definitely worth it to try to, if you have a PlayStation 3 or an Xbox or whatnot, to try and track the games down if you haven't played them.
Yeah.
So, however,
They're good games. They're very much shooters, but they're good games. I'm not a shooter fan, so I didn't really get into them. I played through the first one. It took me a very long time, like probably about 6 months to a year, to get myself to play through the whole game because I found it very frustrating. But I thought the story was neat. It was a little too gritty for me, but the game was well made, and I could definitely still identify a good shooter, even though I hate shooters and I'm bad at them. Thank you. Get off my soapbox
At the end, it told you had the touch, though.
I feel very touched.
Hey, it had a new mix of the touch, and it was awesome. Everything about that game was awesome. I love it so much.
But
I'm so glad there were good Transformers games. Like, even if they were games that, like, personally kind of, like, I can't really get into because I'm so bad at shooters, I'm still really glad there were good Transformers games. Like, even if it was, like, a football game that was a Transformers game, I would be glad there's a good Transformers game.
Well, you say that, and then it looks like there was another sequel to War for Cybertron called Rise of the Dark Spark.
Yep.
It's not. And it uses a lot of assets that High Moon built, but High Moon did not make that game. That Hasbro had ended the relationship with them at that point. And
obviously, with the Age of Extinction coming out, they were like, "Oh, let's actually get another game out of the movie series, obviously to tie in with Age of Extinction, and then we need another game to wrap up the War for Cybertron trilogy." So they were like, "Okay, here you go, Rise of the Dark Spark," and it was
horrible.
I was so excited. I was so excited for the game when it was coming out because, like, I had a PlayStation 4 at that point, and I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be great! Like, there's gonna be a new Transformers game." And man, I feel so bad that I actually paid full price for that game.
Oh, me too.
I was glad I waited till it went down to like $20.
Oh,
even then, it's just like. Even then, I was just like.
You've heard us talk about how great War for Cybertron, Fall of Cybertron, Dark of the Moon were. So we had three great games in a row. And we're like, oh, another one, Rise of the Dark Spark, cool. It's a movie thing and a War for Cybertron thing. Oh, okay, I guess. Jumping dimensions isn't unusual to Transformers, so sure, let's go for it. And then to get it, it just wasn't polished. It was hard to play. The level design was blah.
Just to find out it wasn't developed by High Moon, I was just like, no.
Yeah, they really kept that on the down low.
Yeah, they did.
I didn't know. And then I put the game in the console, and it was hugely disappointing.
Yeah.
It was back to form for Transformers games. Transformers games had always been like, bleh. And it was like we had really great ones, and then back to bleh. It was such a whiplash.
Pretty much, it was.
So
I can say it was
sort of
fun to tromp around as Grimlock in Dinobot mode, but it was really just a reskin of what we had just done in Fall of Cybertron. Like it wasn't anything special. It was still fun, and that's it.
Yeah, so I would not recommend that game. But if you do want a decent PlayStation 4 game, Devastation ended up coming out after that. I don't remember what year.
It was 2015.
15, yeah.
But yeah, so I guess that was it. Essentially, Andy, you said it plays like Bayonetta. I've never played Bayonetta.
It's that genre. Like, it's that genre of, like,
they are developed by the same people.
Game. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's developed by the same people. It's a very simplified version. Whereas, like, Bayonetta games are, like, kind of the peak of the genre. I'd say Devastation is kind of, like, an average game in the genre of the kind of stylish, fun, combo-based action games. And it was really fun. Like, so my microcaster people that I work with both think that this game isn't as good as those other ones, but I was so happy when it came out because it wasn't gritty. It was G1 based. That isn't so important to me. It's the grittiness that I wanted to get away from. It played through like a goofy, over-the-top G1 episode. And the gameplay was actually accessible and fun to me because I like games like that. I like the stylish kind of pseudo-brawler action games. And it was really well made to an extent. You know, it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't top of the genre, but it was still a lot of fun. It was a game that I didn't put down because it was just enjoyable. And Christian disagrees with me and thought it was boring.
I think it's very boring. I like the G1 episode-ness of it. Like, the story was fine. The models look incredible. I mean, the cell shaded.
They do. They're really cool.
3D models. Amazing artwork on that one. Just, I don't like that style of game. It's very boring. It's very repetitive. And if you missed a combo, it was very punishing. I remember fighting Devastator as Optimus, and it took me forever because it's just, you have to press the right button at the right time. I'm not a quick time event kind of guy. And it felt very quick time eventy to me.
It was such a fun fight. I loved it. It was so cool. You had to fight Devastator, you had to roll around and attack him. It's good times.
Speaking of Devastator, I just noticed in my copy that it randomly just has a flyer for Commando Wars Devastator and
there you go.
No other code and
this devastation.
Cool. But yeah, no, I mean, I think that the game was still pretty good. Like, I mean, it's definitely not. I don't think it's as good as the High Moon Studio games, but I think it's still good and it's still worth, picking up. But I agree with Christian that I think that after a while, like, it gets kind of old is really like the only downside that I would say, with the game overall.
Yeah, it's really
I finally
like,
ditched my copy last year, and I was so happy.
Luckily, there's a decent, like, as long as you like either the like PS2 like action game genre for the Armada game, or third-person shooters, or the kind of stylish brawler games, there's a good Transformers game for you. Otherwise, you're kind of screwed. But as long as one of those genres is something you really enjoy, you can be in luck and actually find something fun to play.
So here's my question. My question is do you think that we're going to get another console quality Transformers game in the next generation? The reason I ask that is it's so expensive to develop like games nowadays, yes. Right? And so it's really hard, like, unless, and again, I guess, like, if somebody puts out like whatever the Unreal Engine, whatever the newest engine is or something like that, to where you can skin it pretty easily for Transformers, but like, can you make the game like that High Moon Studios made, but for the new thing, just because it costs so much and there's so much development time that goes into games now?
That none of us have immediately said, "Oh yes, it's going to be great," is troubling to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's been 5 years. That's a long time ago since we were getting Transformers games quite often. And I think the real, like, kind of nail in the coffin is the Bumblebee movie came and went. That movie was successful. It was successful with, like, the target demographic of video games, of being younger humans. And it didn't get a game. If it got a game now, it would be, like, way too late to be really a tie-in.
Right.
And all those crap movies in the middle got games.
I mean, I know that we have, another movie coming out in 2022, right, or something like that. So I guess I could see, them trying to make a game to tie into the movie. I think that that's really the only potential chance that we get, honestly.
Pretty much, if they find the right developer, if they find the right target, and with the right... what's the word I'm looking for? Right source, I guess. Like, what period you'd like to see? Either maybe do a G1 game, maybe do another Beast Wars game, maybe do another Unicron Trilogy game. It's like, depending on whatever everybody wants, I just go off of that. And
I do think it would be really neat to get a new Beast Wars game, like, because if the Beast Wars movie rumors are true, like, that's what they end up doing, I think it would be really neat to get a game to tie in with that, because that's something that we haven't. I mean, I know we've gotten it back on the PlayStation 2 days, but like we haven't really gotten that, on a more high definition console. So yeah, I think that could be something that's unique. That you could make and it could tie into the movie, whatever this movie's going to be.
It could. So I just wanted to ask real quick. I know Jack's looking at the same list I am. I saw that at the very bottom of the list they have a Cyberverse game listed that's like TBD. Is that a thing? Like, is there going to be a Cyberverse game? That would be interesting. I've never heard of it. I haven't heard the name.
I'd
be all about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I could see that too, where if it's like a game that's like only on the the Wii or whatever, or on the Switch, kind of thing. I could see something like that too. But I mean, I think
know anything about it.
To me, I mean, I think that really the future for like a lot of that kind of stuff again is with mobile, just because the cost of development compared to how much money you can make with microtransactions, it's too easy. And then I think from Hasbro's point of view, if they're trying to promote the Transformers and whatnot, I mean, most of the kids are downloading new iPhone games, so, or whatever, Android.
Yeah, pretty much.
I guess I want to, like, do we want to switch to the handheld games, or can I ask a question about console games?
Go right
That's
ahead.
a question.
Do console games need to be, do they need to allow you to play both sides in order to be cool? Like, in order for a Transformers game to be correct, you need to be able to transform. That needs to be part of the game. We've established that. Right. But do you need to be able to play as the Decepticons?
Yes.
Because the Armada game and the Devastation were two games that, between Jack and I, we said were good games, but neither of them allowed you to play the bad guys, whereas the High Moon games did allow you to play the Decepticons.
I think you need it. I think our fandom is, I'm not divided between Autobots and Decepticons, but there's so many points of view to show in the story, and there's so many people out there that feel very passionately that they belong on one side or the other. So it's important to capture both of those perspectives.
Mm-hmm. I think the other key is that you can double the amount of gameplay if you just skin a Decepticon and maybe change a few cutscenes and whatnot. Like, to me, I feel like it's a way to pad your game, while like with like whatever, run through with the Decepticons again and whatever, and change a couple things. So,
but if you're going to produce something with a full story like the High Moon games, then you're paying a whole other staff of voice actors. You're redoing a lot of the models. You're like actually trying to tell two unique stories. I thought that was actually kind of difficult to make two coherent sides like that. Like, given the length of a lot of shooters, it basically was a double-length game. Because a lot of first-person and third-person shooters are very short, and that game ended up being a decent length if you played through both campaigns.
Yeah, it's long, which I thought was good. It felt like
it's fine.
You could always do the DS strategy and release an Autobot and Decepticon separate version.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just red and blue. It's Pokemon. Everything I handheld is Pokemon.
Pretty much.
I don't know how you could do that on a larger console release, but I'd be interested to see it.
Yeah.
Because I've just been curious about like what makes a good Transformers game, and I wanted to kind of like us to pick out a few of those things throughout. And I think the two sides is part of it. Like, even though my favorite Transformers game doesn't let you play both sides, it would have been cool to be able to play as G1 Starscream because he's a fun character. I would have enjoyed getting to play him. Maybe someone else. Mostly him.
But I do think that Transformers are absolutely are perfect for like iPhone or whatever handheld phone games, just due to the fact that there's so many characters. And so, like, it really, helps, like, people want to keep playing in order to unlock the certain characters and whatnot. And I know, Christian, and that was something, we had talked about before where the Transformers Earth Wars, where you got very frustrated because you wanted a specific character and you were having a tough time
I
unlocking
wanted
it.
a specific character. I was playing Earth Wars and I won a contest online with the developers to win Blaster for my Autobot side, which was awesome. They then gave me a Blaster pack, which you couldn't buy, and I opened it, and it had like my 15th slag instead of a Blaster. And I was like, what the heck? Even on the contest winnings that was specifically made for me, it's a random number generator. And so I messaged the dev team back, and I was like, hey, this gave me a slag, not Blaster. And they were just like, meh. And I have not played since that day.
That sounds like a good vengeance.
I do want to mention that I unlocked Blaster last week. Christian, just FYI.
It's a gachapon style game, right? And that is frustrating in a lot of ways for something like Transformers, where you have a favorite character. Like, if you're listening to the show, you probably have a favorite character. Each of us have, a pile of favorite characters. There are many different toys laying on my desk right now, and they definitely lean certain directions towards characters I like most. And getting them in a gachapon style game where you are random chance drawing for characters from a publicly disclosed percentage chance of getting certain characters can just be infuriating. I'm playing the new Final Fantasy Tactics based one on the phone, and it's just like I've been trying to get the one like classic character they released for like 2 weeks now. It's just infuriating when you can't get it and when your husband gets it on the first day. That's the other side of it. That's annoying. But yeah, like I do think Transformers fits the gachapon style really well, but I think it can also be frustrating because we have character collectors. Character collectors are pretty common in Transformers fandom, and those people are going to get frustrated.
Ron in the chat had a comment saying it was like the only way a new console game would work is if it's an open world, and I was kind of thinking about it because I just got through Lego Marvel The Avengers. It's pretty much like a Lego game based on the MCU movies. I can actually see it kind of taking that, like just make it an open world, but you also have the, if you ever played the Lego games, you have like the big character screens where you could just choose.
Right.
Just choose any any character you want, go around the world. Obviously, you can find any collectibles that you want, have like mission hubs spread around. You have different hub worlds you could travel across the world or universe or what have you. And then there was another thing. I forgot what it was, but if you make it like that, I think that'd be the best. Like Ron said in the chat, it would be the best thing to do. Would be like an open world, and like I want to make it like the Lego games to where, like the first playthrough you do in Lego Marvel The Avengers, you have to go through the story. Then as you beat levels, you can replay those as free play. And then you unlock the hub areas to where you can do all kinds of different stuff to unlock different parts of the story. You can unlock different characters. So I was like, if you can kind of make Transformers fit in that puzzle, that might be the new game. Because like I said, you could play as any Marvel character you want in the Lego Marvel games. Why not do that with Transformers?
Yeah.
I think, a Lego style game with Transformers would be fantastic, and it's too bad that, that's the thing between Lego and Hasbro and their competitors, so Hasbro would have to develop that game on their own, I would assume, and not be a Lego branded one.
Obviously, it wouldn't be a full-on Lego game, so it wouldn't be like Creo Transformers, It'd just be a flat Transformers brand with that style of game that the Lego Marvel games
that would
had.
actually work really well. Like, because I think the melee combat that you're looking for Transformers, I think you could have them transform to solve different puzzles and things like that. So
Oh, yeah.
I actually think that that style of game I think would work really well. And like I could actually see that game coming out on consoles. Like, because I don't know that costs as much to develop. Yeah,
No, that would be pretty cool. And I think like the Lego games have been so successful because they actually integrate how you play with Lego. Like they play in the way that you play with Lego. And it would be cool to have a Transformers game that plays in the way you play with Transformers. You know, like integrating not just the transformations, but maybe even integrating little like weapon friends and mini cons and accessory type characters into it as well in order to make it feel like playing with Transformers toys. Like that could be a really neat idea, or getting like base characters to level up or something. You know, just different ways to integrate the play pattern could make it like feel as neat as the Lego games do if you're a really big Lego person.
I'm actually kind of shocked that Activision and Hasbro didn't make a toy-based game like the what Skylanders is Activision, right? I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of surprised that they didn't do that at Transformers, because it's like buy your Transformers toys, set them on their base, and whatnot.
Yeah, even Michael did that too.
Right. Yeah.
That could be terrible. Yeah, Dimensions was super cool as a concept. I wish I would have stuck around a little longer. But anyway, Transformers-wise, it would be really cool. If what?
RID did that for mobile. You scan the codes and then you play
Oh,
that
yeah.
character in your game.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So they did implement it in a way.
True.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like actually getting the play pattern there would be fun. I'm just trying to think of like what you can do next with Transformers games, because honestly, like the mobile games just don't do it for me. Like they're not for me. I'm playing this one mobile game just because the game it's based on is one of my favorite video games ever, and there aren't very many games in that genre to play, so I started playing it. But, you know, I'm playing it for the gameplay, like literally. But for the Transformers games, I would just be playing it for the Transformers references. And I was really hopeful for Forged to Fight, because it was like, it's a fighting game, kinda. But it's just, like, it didn't get me on the first day. You gotta get them on the first day or they go away, and I went away. It was interesting.
I don't have a full-fledged pitch ready for this, but I would kind of like to see a Transformers racing game. That's good. I like racing games. I like to play them. I don't know how you could integrate robot modes or combat into it, but there's so many iconic vehicle modes in the Transformers franchise.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Earth modes and Cybertron modes that I would like to see, you know, a race circuit with those. Something probably not in the realm of Forza, but more like Forza Horizon, where it's open world and there's different challenges and tasks to do. That
kind of like Crash Nitro Kart. Kind of how it had like the hub world, and you could go around, do different challenges, and then do the main races to further the story. And
sure, I don't know what that is, but that sounds good.
It's the Crash Bandicoot version of Mario Kart.
You've never heard of it?
No.
He's got an Xbox.
Yeah.
Come on.
It sounds fun, and it sounds like it would be good for
World.
what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, I think that
Come on.
the like Mario Kart / Crash Team Racing style of not as serious racer that can be very gimmicky and have fun stuff.
I kind of want it to be serious, but you know, I'm the one who spends hours, you know, remaking Transformers alt modes in Forza and Forza Horizon, because you can get so detailed on the car models there. So I'm the one who makes, you know, those skins and tunes them up. And it's like, oh yeah, I'm driving Sideswipe now. Yeah, that's me.
I try to do that too. It's kind of fun.
So did anyone play Forged to Fight? Because like I was kind of the same way as Anna. I downloaded it on day one. I played a couple games and I was like, whatever, and deleted it. Like, did you guys play?
Not too much.
I made it like a day because it very much felt like a game that was trying to trick me into thinking I was playing a fighter. It kind of pissed me off. It was like, you're playing a fighting game. This is cool. I was like, no, I'm not. I'm playing another stupid phone game. Gosh darn it.
Yeah, so Brian in the chat says that he did. Like, let me know. Like, is it actually still worth downloading and playing? Like, I just never really, I don't know. I never played it. Like, I actually, for whatever reason, I never played Earth Wars before, even though I kind of like those style of games. Those like building, whatever, like long kind of games that take place over time, and so. Yeah, like I've actually enjoyed Earth Wars. I've been playing it since we've been doing quarantine or whatever, staying at home. And so it's been kind of like my new mobile game. So, and I know Christian, you said that you kind of it made you mad, and so you quit. Like, did you guys play Earth Wars at all, or?
I never tried it.
I played it from launch date until the end of October when that happened at TFCon. It was a daily player for me, and I'd quit.
Wow.
I'm not the city builder type. Those games don't do much for me.
I played a few days, but I never really kept up to really.
I like Sims where I like Sims where I can binge them for 1,000 hours and lose track of my life, like The Sims and Harvest Moon and those types of things. Those games that limit my time just don't work as well for me.
I mean, it seems like that Earth Wars, like, they've been putting new bots in, like, so, I mean, they've really been kind of continuing with that game. I know Brian said that he enjoyed Forge to Fight, but that, and it was pretty addicting, but that, it made him mad that they weren't releasing any new bots after that, so... But I think that's the key with any of those kind of mobile games is if they don't keep up with them, it's like eventually you're just going to delete it and, get the next thing.
But how many video games do you keep playing for years like that, though, anyway? So it's, I don't know. The investment just makes it feel so different.
In that regard, I'm really impressed with Earth Wars. I mean, it's been going for 4 years. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah.
It's
some
a great
of us have been playing.
I'm glad they've been able to do it.
I was gonna say, Anna, some of us have been playing Simpsons since that came out.
Yeah,
Tapped out.
Donut Wars or whatever.
I've been playing Pokemon Go since 2016. So,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been playing Final Fantasy 14 forever, but I'm very off and on with it. Plus, that's a full game. Like, these phone games just don't feel like as much to me. But
yeah.
That's just me.
I mean, I think the main thing with, like, the phone mobile games is you want something to pass the time while you're, like, out, doing stuff. You're waiting in line for, whatever. Maybe that's not something we do anymore, but that usually that's kind of like what I would do. It is like you check in, once or twice a day, while you're doing something else. So
yeah, I don't play them like that. I play them like games. That's my problem. Like, after this podcast is done, I really want to go play my Final Fantasy game to do my daily stuff and put some time into it. And, I will play it like I would a video game.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of playing my perfectly good video games.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like, I think that as mobile has... I mean, you've seen that the graphics are getting better and the gameplay. Better. I think that, the tough thing is that the touchpad is really what, limits you. Like, you don't have actual real controls, and they're not going to put those into the game. So, like, I think that that's the toughest thing to integrate, like, with a mobile game like that. But I think it could be done.
It can. So I guess at this point we chronologically went through console games, we talked about mobile games, we talked about our thoughts and feelings and what we want for the future. Are we feeling video gamed out? Were there things that we didn't get to discuss that you wanted to discuss, Jack? I know this was your idea.
No, I think we pretty much nailed everything I wanted to.
So I think did we say that overall the game that we want is Transformers Lego or Creo or something like that? Is that kind of the end of the game? Honestly, I honestly kind of want that game because I enjoy the Legos games. I think that would be perfect with my kids and whatnot. Like, that would be a game that they would actually engage in and want to play. And it's something that actually, like, appeals to kids all the way from, 5 all the way up to, adults. So I actually think that would probably be the next perfect Transformers game.
I mean, yeah, I mean, like I said, I didn't say like a full-on Lego game, but after you say that, I kind of can see that. So maybe maybe both.
There's our answer.
Hopefully.
And for mobile, I want a BotBots version of Earth Wars. Call it Transformers BotBots Mall Madness, and you have to maintain them all and unlock all the BotBots characters.
Or it could just be Pokemon Go.
Do you know how much I'll get lost in either one of those things?
I do.
You would never see me again. You would never, ever see me again. Where's Christian? Oh, he's out catching BotBots. That's what he always says. Where did he go? Oh, he's like 4 states over, man. He just kept walking. He just kept going.
He kept going like Forrest Gump.
Oh, jeez.
Gotta get all those BotBots.
But
That would destroy my life. And I really wanted to.
So there you go.
I just want to say, I think the best promotion that Hasbro or anybody has done for a Transformers game was, I believe, for the PS2 game, they did. Let me see. At the game's launch party, Atari's venue made a signature drinks. They had a list, and they were all named after minicons. That is the best way to promote a game, is to have everybody get drunk on minicon flavored drinks.
That's pretty baller.
It is insane. Some of these drinks actually sound tasty. So I mean, like Aftershock, he was one of the big super heavy cannons. He used Red Bull and vodka, and that actually kind of makes sense as a bartender. So I think, yeah, like I said, that is the best way to promote a game, is to make a drink menu out of minicons.
It's fun.
So.
All right. Do you guys have any other final thoughts?
Video games are fun, so are robots. Combine them. And a lot of times you get poop.
Okay.
Ron posted in the chat, Christian would look like that guy that has 30 phones on his bike's handlebars playing Pokemon Go.
Well, absolutely. There's no question. This
I
is a
could see
very
that.
accurate statement.
I can really see that.
So I was going to mention tomorrow night on Microcasters, I'll be live on the TF Talk Facebook page. We are going to be doing Smokescreen, the new one that came out, the
Not
MP
this, but instead this.
So, yeah. So I think Anna's the only one that actually has the figure. But of course, we all are well versed in the dots and mold, so. We can give our thoughts as well. So
I have Prowl and Blue Streak, but I don't have a smoke screen.
Well, there you
The
go.
one time I don't.
You should tune in, and we can try and convince you to get the new one.
I don't know if I'm going to convince anyone, but I'll talk about it.
So check us out tomorrow night at 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central. Ouch My Wallet is off this week. And then Cut the Tape, of course, and TF Talk News. There was a new episode that went up last night on that, so check that out. And it looks like that Ball Don't Lie Worldwide just joined. So as we're about ready to sign off here for real, so anyone. So thank you everyone in the chat, Rodimus, Ron, Brian,
You the real
who else I
MVP.
got? Zaldron, I think he left after we died the first time.
He's like, see ya. I'm gonna go watch.
Whatever
show it was.
Tony. Oh yeah, hey Tony. So yeah, if you want to check out the live stream, I'll have to go look to see. I'm curious to see how it split up. My internet died in the middle of it, so we'll have to see what happened there. So
We had an oops.
well. All right. Well, thanks everyone, and we will see you next week.
See you later.